everyone, and welcome to Astrology with Jeffrey Bryan. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be a total chart interpretation, but a lot of different chart interpretations. I've had a lot of people asking me, like, why so many people seem to have so many different opinions and ideas on what's going on astrologically in the world, and why some come true, some don't. And why different people are using different charts. And so I'm going to give a rundown as to why this is the case, or why I believe this is the case, and lots of different factors. And I'll also go through the transits of this month of October of 2021. Okay, October transits and America by Astrology with Jeffrey Bryan. Here we go. So this is the Sibley chart of the United States of America. And as you can see up here in the left-hand corner, this chart was formed on July 4th, 1776. Now in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at 5:10 p.m. Now, astrologers are all gonna, they all have their own opinions about the time and what day. And I've done a video on, is it the 2nd of July, the 3rd, what day is it exactly? So there's all these little factors involved when interpreting a chart like this, as to is it how the ascendant's going to fall right here, and the midheaven, and all these different factors on how it's going to lay the chart out. So that, for one, is one of the factors that astrologers may be looking at differently. Now, this is the most common one I see astrologers using for today's current climate and what's going on politically. And so I have a different theory that I've come up with, where this is when the Constitution was pretty much founded, the day they celebrated back in 1776, the founding of the Constitution of America. But it wasn't for years and years later that we swore in the first president. So I believe when they made the Constitution, they were breaking free from Britain, and they wanted their own freedom. They wanted their own right to rule. They wanted their own banking system. They wanted to be able to believe whatever religion they wanted to believe, and all these things. So this Constitution was written for freedom. And so, as you can see, this is the house of the presidency, and it's held by Saturn. Saturn would be the person who makes sure that this document is not broken by any means necessary. And so that's an important thing as we move forward. And as you can see, we'll go through other charts with this also, but as you can see here, Pluto is in the 2nd house of the banking industry. And currently we're having, if we look at this, if we take this chart as the true American chart, we're having a Pluto return, which would be basically the destruction of the old banking system and the birth of a new banking system. And so we know that there's, good guys and bad guys that play in the banking world, and old bankers that have been, ruling the world and starting wars to take control and have the banking system and all the money run through them. And so, is this them restructuring and controlling people with their banking system, or is this a new, like, quantum financial system that's going to benefit the people going on in America and also in the world? But this is America's chart, so we're just talking about America now. So this Pluto here is a very important aspect. I could go on and on, But for now, I just want to move on and just show you the differences. So this would be the foundation. That's what I want to get out. This chart of 1776 is America's foundation. Now, interestingly, the next chart is the presidency of the United States, which didn't happen until April 30th, 1789 at 2:45 p.m. in New York. So we've got a different state and city, different time. And years later, when this is the day that George Washington was sworn in as the very first president of the United States. So now he is the elected official of the people to represent and hold the foundation intact. And as we see, as we go through time, we're now at the 46th president. So what has happened to that foundation of 1776 chart by presidents changing, and Congress and the Senate and judges and all these different political leaders altering and changing and manipulating things through time? How do you read through all the minutia of what's happening today? So that's where I wanted to go with this is where the difficulty of seeing what's going to happen. And when we're looking for who may be the next president in various elections throughout the years, we have to kind of look at what direction is that person taking us, and what direction is the population wanting to kind of go? Are they fooled? Are they in truth? Is a president trying to uphold the original Constitution, or is a president trying to take away our rights and freedoms and change that, as we're seeing today? So this is a transit for October 7th of this year. I made this for New York time just because that's the East Coast, and that's when the first part of the day in the world in America starts. And I didn't want to do a full reading in this, but I just wanted to point out a few things that currently we've had 6 planets retrograde. So a retrograde is where they're not in direct motion. They're kind of going back and cleaning up things that were missed or that need to be finished. They're kind of giving people a break to regroup, reorganize, get a plan together, go through evidence, paperwork, all kinds of different processes. So as we can see here, Mercury's retrograde. Down here, Pluto's stationary. So he actually has gone direct as we speak. So I put the 8th, that's what my Afferma says, but the computer system shows that he's already direct. So I don't know why that's showing a difference in my Afferma versus the programs on the computer, but he has been retrograde. Then we have Saturn retrograde, Jupiter's retrograde, Neptune, Chiron's always retrograde, and then we have Uranus retrograde as well. And the nodes are always in retrograde motion. So that was 6 planets retrograde we've been having going on. Now we have 5 now that Pluto is direct. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because with them kind of in like this slumber of not like, it's not really a slumber, but they're like not in this forceful action. That's going to be coming. We've been kind of seeing bits and pieces of, things happening around the world. But what's coming is going to be massive when these planets all start to move forward and flux their power and their energy. And so some interesting, let's see, is there something interesting here I wanted to talk about, or is that on another slide? I think I'll move to the next slide. So anyway, I wrote the dates here for everybody to see, and I have them on other slides as well when they're going to go direct. So the last planet of this will go direct January 18th of next year. and he'll be at 10 degrees, 49 minutes. So here's a list of all the dates and times and the degrees for everybody when the planet will be going direct motion. So this looks like craziness, and this is October 11th, and things will be starting to heat up now that Pluto has gone direct and Saturn has become stationary, which means he looks in space like he's not moving, and he'll be moving forward on, I think, right away. Yeah, on the 11th. So he's going to be moving forward that day, probably just in a different time. So what is this showing here? We have an in conjunction, which is a crisis in action coming from the North Node, which is the future. That's where we want to head. The South Node is conjunct Venus, which would be where we don't want to head. So this vision that's been going on, and it's connected to beauty, money, attraction, maybe all these things you see is not what they seem to be, kind of a scenario going on. Black Moon Lilith, I don't have on here, but it's also here showing us what we don't know. So Black Moon Lilith is kind of like a mystery. It's like we don't know what's going on. And so we have, I don't use the asteroids, but I just sometimes like to point them out to people, showing like there can be a darker agenda that's hidden even now that Pluto's exposed. There's still some unknown stuff going on. Like if you watch any kind of mainstream media at all, they don't even know how to ask a question. They just tell you a bunch of stupid stuff that makes no sense. Nobody does any journalism anymore. So we're stuck not knowing what the real truth is. And so we're learning, we're going to be finding out real soon, because as we'll see, let me see, I think I want to, as we see here on this day, we have this sextile going here from Saturn to Neptune. So it's a sextile. Anyway, Neptune is the news, and Saturn is the law, and it's like hard work, diligence. It's our karma. It's really like it's like boundaries too. And so what boundaries are being portrayed with the media that they're colliding from? Because Saturn is in Aquarius. Aquarius is the social planet. It's all about the people. And the people have had this Saturn here, like kind of like a block, like what's going on? We're being forced to do things against our will, many of us. Many of us don't believe that, but that's the case. People are being told what they have to do in order to work or whatnot. There's all these rules and regulations. And the news here is not reporting this truthfully. And so we've got this kind of harmonious aspect going on, but they kind of clash at the same time. It's not like a perfect harmony. And this Saturn trines the North Node of the future. So this message we're getting is kind of going to be confusing. We don't know. We're still not going to know what's really going on, in my opinion, here. And then a good sign here is we have Jupiter trining this stellium up here of the Sun, Mars, and Mercury in Libra. So before I say that, I think I want to go back and look at the previous slide and see if that was the one I wanted to look at. It is not. Okay. So this is going to be good news because Jupiter is the guru, the sage one, the sage and the wise one. He's optimistic. He's bigger than life. He wants everything to be bigger and better, but he can also make things small as he's focusing on them, because he knows how to intensify to make things more beautiful and bright. And so he's in the sign of the people, Aquarius, a communication. That's very important. So he goes direct on October 18th, which is coming up. And so when he goes direct, he's really going to be moving along with these three planets in this trine. And the important thing is, this is these are both air signs. They're both about communication. But Libra, which a lot of people think it's about balance, it's like your soul on one end of the scale and a feather on the other. They're not an equal balance. But what Libra to me is judgment. What's the judgment coming down the pike to what's going to be exposed? Who's going to be judged for the actions that they've been putting on us globally? This transit chart is not for just America. This is for the world. And we have some kind of an, I believe we're going to have some kind of enlightenment coming forth through this. And we also have Chiron here. Maybe it's healing some of this money issue, or trying to heal the past in that trine aspect going on. Like I said, I'm not a big asteroid fan, so I'm not a big Chiron fan, but Chiron was the wounded healer who learned everything about healing but couldn't heal himself. So he heals other people, works on other things. And in this chart, I'm primarily talking about governments around the world and healing something going on with that. So let's move on. So this is October 17th, the day before Jupiter goes direct. And also the day before Mercury goes direct. They go direct the same day. So here we have a grand trine going on. This is beautiful. Grand trine is the best aspect possible. So we have the future, the North Node in Gemini. Gemini is like the intellect. It's your everyday thinking. It's in the decanate of intuition. So it's been hard to use our intuition through all this. So that's why I kind of brought up that Black Moon Lilith earlier, because it's like our intuition. It's almost like we haven't been able to trust our intuition with anything recently. Maybe some people have that have good aspects in their chart, but for the majority, I've felt like people are kind of not knowing who or what to trust, what information's correct, and they're just kind of like sometimes ignoring it because they just don't know how to handle this, what to do, what to believe. And so the good news is we have Saturn at 6 degrees trining the North Node. So we've got the house of communication and the people, and this is rules, laws, boundaries, strictness. This Saturn's going to hold people accountable. I believe it's not going to be holding the people accountable, as in citizens that are obeying the law and obeying the Constitution, but those breaking it. This is the people, because it's targeting to the future. The people are going to make a stance. To go further, we have Mercury in Libra in Judgment. This is Judgment Day. Why is this important? Because Mercury rules Gemini. And what we don't know, we're going to know, because it's going to be coming out in some form of judgment. I don't know the judgment, if it's going to be just like on TV, it's going to be in court, it's going to be at tribunals. what kind of judgment are we talking? Is It's not really clear. But the good news is this grand trine puts it all together. And we've been having Mars and the sun in the same sign. Mars is the god of war and that of action, taking action. He's the cardinal fire sign, and fire excels in air. So Mercury excels in air because it's all about air, and this is a cardinal air sign. And the sun is ruled by Leo, and Leo is fixed fire, so he excels at giving life and sustaining life and joy to the world. Everything feeds off the sun. It's the giver of life, and he is sitting here at 21 degrees. Earlier in the month, he was further back, forming this trine, getting this going. So this is good news. The bad news is well, maybe it's not bad news, but he's squaring Pluto. So we've got Mars and the sun. The sun is like basically an exact square to Pluto, and Pluto's in Capricorn. Well, I believe Pluto was already exposed back when we had the Great Conjunction the summer before we had all the lockdowns even. And so, or right around that time, we had the Great Conjunction. So Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto and Mars exposed the hidden agenda. So these two are ready to take action and fight against the dark underworld that needs to be rebuilt, because Pluto is transformation, metamorphosis, but that takes breaking down systems fully to rebuild them. This could even be an activation of weather patterns, because Pluto's in the Earth, so it could create a earthquake. And with Mars here and the sun, activated volcanoes, even though we've been having a lot of volcanoes activated. This is in air, so I don't see anything really pushing like a tsunami where the tectonic plate would lift and shift the ocean floor and create a major wave coming in. I don't see anything moving with water. So this is more on the level of earth and air. So judgment through communication, Mercury's writing and communicating. And so there's going to be a lot of, maybe that has to do with legal stuff. Maybe it has to do with the new, I think on the 15th, the government might shut down, I believe it is, because they don't have any money. So this may be part of their like $3.4 or $5 trillion plan that's going to be in effect. I'll talk about that more in the next one of the next slides. So I think that's it for that slide. Let's move on. So this is October 31st, the last day of the month. It's never good when you see red everywhere, and here we see quite a bit of it. But we do have some good trines going. Saturn's still trining the future, so he's working on, they're communicating signs. Like this is groups, organizations, social groups, and this represents, the mass consciousness. This is your everyday planning, thinking process that the rational mind just goes through on a repetitive basis, more like thinking. So we've got that in harmony with the future going on. We still have Jupiter here trining Mercury. So Jupiter is really going to be working with groups of people on writing and speaking about truth, maybe legal documents and things of that nature, or maybe just communicating more truth. because Saturn is broken away from the orb I give to Neptune. So I don't see that confusion, or that aspect there being there until Saturn starts to move more direct again. Let's see. Neptune squaring. So there's going to be, this is Neptune's the highest vibrational frequency. And so it represents confusion, illusion, delusion, mystical experiences, it can be psychic experiences, even clairvoyance, clairaudience. But in this case, it can be confusing something with, I'm going to say, the past, because that's basically where the node's been. But it seems to me it's going to be more about Venus is attraction, it's beauty, it's money. So there's going to be some kind of confusion of the direction that the people are going to be wanting to take. And it's going to be a crisis position, because Uranus is all about revolution, rebellion, and awakening, and enlightenment. Whenever you see Uranus transiting in a chart, it's enlightening the situation. And it's in an inconjunct to this Venus. So I think that there's going to be confusion as what the heck's going on. And it may be in the area of behind the scenes or past negotiations come to light, that's going to like piss people off or blow the lid off of this whole thing. I don't count that. Okay, and then the moon opposing Neptune is going to be really probably an emotionally mental challenging day. Just the moon will move on quick, so it's just probably going to be very confusing, confusing to wrap our minds around, something of that sort. It may just be your everyday life, but it could also be in this political sphere, like people aren't understanding, or people are having trouble coping with what's going on. So this is back to the Sibley chart of the United States, which is the foundation that we talked about earlier. And this is Joe Biden's chart. So I just wanted to talk about, so this is the foundation, and this is Joe Biden's chart. So I'm going to also put the president of the Taurus chart, which would be George Washington's chart, with Joe Biden's chart, so we can see what they're doing in regards to upholding or not upholding the Constitution. So as you can see, Joe Biden was born with three planets in his 12th house, and in a country's chart, that is hidden enemies, in secret enemies. And so, as we all know, he knows all these people from being in politics for 50 years. He knows all the way the systems work, who plays dirty, who pays out, who does all these things. And you're definitely going to see that in Scorpio, for Pete's sakes. He's got Mercury, the Sun, and Venus. He could be attracted to the dark side emotionally. He's got this, he's got this charm about him that people are attracted to. His Sun is even in this. And his mind has this, maybe even sexual side that's, this is ruled by Saturn, or excuse me, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Where is Pluto? Pluto's in his 8th house of his subconscious mind. He's got some weird things going on with sexual tendencies. Probably children, as we know, but he has some kind of weird fantasies going on. And this is also isolation, withdrawal, and retreat from the world in a personal chart. And his mind, his sun, and his and how he comes out and is viewed is he hasn't even been on public arenas since he ran. So we can easily see that he comes out of his house. They call it the basement. Now that he's president, nobody's allowed to ask him a real question. He comes out pre-planned questions, pre-answers. He pulls them out of his pocket and reads them. This is what's going on. And here, this is hospitals and medical and the police, and Uranus in our country's chart, the foundation rules this. It wants protection of the people. It's in a Gemini. It wants to protect the people and make them feel safe, and use, in hospitals, it wants to use technology to help cure them. And here in Joe Biden's chart, now these aren't transits, you'd have to overlay the transits, but I'm just showing he has Saturn conjunct it. Saturn conjunct it, stopping it, blocking it, putting rules down, saying this, this is the way it's going to be. So it's highly interesting. Is he protecting the Constitution, or is he changing it? Is he going against these things? He has Neptune up here in the house of the presidency, even though this is the Constitution. Very interesting that he's confusing using delusion and illusion and magic. He's using some kind of like magic to, or we could say even trickery, or to change or use words or not communicate the truth of what he's doing. Remember, this is in Libra, first decanate. This is all judgment. I promise you, Judgment Day is coming. Judgment Day is coming. And it's not going to be good. It's going to be good for us, but it's not going to be good for a lot of these people. So I could go on with Joe Biden's chart, but let's move on because we have several more charts and I don't want to make this video too long. So this is the Sibley chart again, but this is Donald Trump on top of it with the Constitution. So as we see, it's July 4th, 1776 again. And this is Donald Trump was born July 14th, 1946, 10:54 a.m. in Queens, New York. So here we see, again, the Saturn is being upheld, and he also has Neptune here, which is he channeling truth to us? Is he being truthful to us, or is he is he upholding the truth of the Constitution, or is he trying to do something else with confusion and illusion? Because we have Chiron sitting here, which I told you before, I don't really like it, but Chiron is the wounded healer who's healing, and this is all about judgment. So is Trump taking the foundation that's been lost from the previous, let's see, he was the 45th president, so 44 presidents before him. How far away from this document have we gotten? Is this all about trying to establish it back to the new document, or is it coming up with something new that protects us even more, or even a new system? Or is he going back to the original Constitution? That's yet to be found out. But he has Jupiter. Jupiter's the guru, the sage, the wise one. It's also justice. We got justice here for Trump's chart in the house of the presidency. Pretty interesting. 17 degrees. Do we have anything hitting at close to 17 degrees? You know, that's a house of like mayors, governors, things of that nature. So, I mean, he may be bringing justice to, or he, that's a square. So he may be really trying to knock out um, certain politicians that don't um, serve our country. And I think that that's what he's doing right now. Um, you know, 13 degrees, we have Chiron at 14 degrees. So he's also working with the sun in this emotional water sign. Cancer is all about nurturing and protection, and Chiron's about healing. So he's trying to go and get people that are going to protect the people's rights in each city and county throughout the whole United States. Now, interestingly, he has a lot going on in the house of war in this chart. So, as you can see, when the Constitution was written, we had Mars, Venus, and Jupiter in the house of war. So, well, that makes sense because they were having to fight against Britain from coming over and invading their Constitution. So now we have somebody trying to fight for our Constitution again. And we have Uranus, planet of awakening, the awakener, the enlightener, and the one who rebels. And it's also technology. What kind of technology is being used in this war? This is a digital war. So this is very good news because it trines Jupiter. Jupiter in the sky is actually trining it exactly right now, or in Trump's chart, trines that. So he's got very good, he's going to have very good luck with what he's doing in that from his position of power. The North Node is the future. So all of this going on, the sun, the life giver, joy, vitality, Mercury, all these things are working in maneuvering us back and getting rid of this corrupt system. This is what Trump's chart is reflecting to me. And again, this is the Sibley chart. So again, we have Pluto, and we're having a Pluto return with the transit. So obviously there's something going to be shifting and changing in America with the money, banking. Like I said earlier, is it going to be for the good people that want to track us and follow our carbon emissions and not allow us to spend our money how we want, restrict us with their technology and what they're doing, and tax us to death? Or is there going to be a new way that is for the people? I mean, I believe it's going to be for the people because this Saturn, this all's hitting this is not going to let that happen. But it just takes time. Remember, all these planets have been retrograde for like around 6 months. So they've been working on this for a long time, and they're about to go direct and take action. We just have to be patient and tough it out. So now this is the president's chart. So this is when George Washington was sworn in and what he upheld. And then now this is Joe Biden's chart. So the inner chart is the president and the outer chart is Joe Biden's chart. Now it's going to look different because the ascendants are different. So the layout's different, but all the planets are in the same signs. So let's see. In this chart, Pluto was in transforming, the police, the medical field, and things that heal and benefit the people. It's also the military. So Pluto was back then it was in a position of building a military that could fight back. Now this Pluto is in Aquarius, and the Pluto today is in Capricorn, so we're not in a Pluto return in this chart. But Joe Biden's Pluto is at 7 degrees in the 12th house, 12th house of hidden enemies. Remind me, did he take, did him or his son take money from China and Ukraine? Did they just give Afghanistan all our military equipment and billions of dollars? Secret enemies under the surface, on top of the natal of enlightenment. He's got caught. He's gotten caught. And he's going to be really caught. And we also have to realize wherever we have duplicated signs, we have duplicated Aquarius and duplicated Leo. So to free our country, which we'll see when I roll with Trump's chart, we have to overcome one to get to the other sign. It's like a karmic do-over, as you could say. And so with Biden's chart having Pluto here and all the things going on, I believe that this is the moment in history where the United States is going to set themselves free from this underhanded, covert situation that's been going on with all the 3-letter agencies. But we'll see. We'll see. And see, Joe Biden has in his chart, in rebellion, enlightenment, technology, with Saturn here in the house of the presidency. So my question is, are we even seeing the real Joe Biden? We seeing, where's Neptune at? Neptune's in a trine. Neptune's the news. We seeing CGI Joe, or we seeing real Joe? But they're they're writing the lines. Mercury right there. Let's see, where's Joe's Mercury? I think this is all, it's almost like made up what we're seeing. Chiron was in Gemini, showing that there was going to be a time that there was going to be need healing in the house of the presidency. And there it is at 18 degrees. And that's fidelity is the key word. Fidelity and loyalty. Fidelity and loyalty to who, we could ask? To us, our fellow citizens, our fellow man. Fidelity and loyalty to upholding what our founding fathers came here to do. And that's just another reason to see why this is going to come about. Let's move on to Donald Trump's chart. Same thing. George Washington took oath is in the inside, and Donald Trump's on the outside. So here, oh wait, I gotta go back. Okay, I hit a button. So here we see again Chiron in Gemini, the healing. Trump's chart on the outside, the North Node, his future president, his son conjunct the node, this forming a stellium with the enlightened mind. He knows the direction he wants to go. And he knows he has this higher way of thinking towards the future. That's very important for a leader, mind you. He has he also has Pluto here in Leo. So he's using some people under the surface too. Whether it's good or bad, we would have to ask ourselves the same question. But there's ways you have to play the game and things you can't tell people. And Pluto is an esoteric planet, and this is in the house of the self-sabotage, self-undoing. What's also withdrawn, withdrew from the world, prisons. But in this case, in America's chart, this is the house of secret enemies or hidden enemies that are like infiltrating. Um, infiltrating. So I believe that he's being enlightened to that, but I think that he got caught off guard. He doesn't really know. There's so many of them. There's so many of them. But he's also probably having a hard time himself dealing with all of this. Pluto is transformation. So, it's the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. It has to go through this, movement and tearing apart and this process before it expands into this beautiful butterfly and flies away. So let's see. He has, let's see, that's Saturn at 20. So he also has a trine going from Saturn, and this would be the house of war in a country's chart, and it's trining the house of like I think it's legislation and things for the people, and it's in an emotional Cancer sign. So that's the trine is perfect because that means it's fighting for us, the people. And it's also, let's see, it's also on top of Jupiter and the moon. It's already past the moon, but it's just past Jupiter. So, he's been working on things behind the scenes to really, with groups of people, high officials, diligently laying the law down on what's going to happen. Saturn's the law. It doesn't take any crap. This is how it's going to be. Let's see. We have 17 degrees. So one of the negative parts that's been going on is Saturn and Uranus squaring off. That's negative. It's a crisis. So he's been fighting for his presidency. Many people believe it was taken from him. And so we can see this crisis. He's enlightened to the fact that we're in some kind of a war that is taking our country away from us. I think a lot of people are waking up to that. I hope so. I hope people are waking up to that because it's very important, or we're going to lose this country. And we all need to be working in some manner, small or big, to try to save it, just like I believe this man up here is. So it's very encouraging. His chart is very encouraging. I've always thought that he was born for this position, to take this task on, because his chart so perfectly matches the duplicated and intercepted signs. I mean, his sun is in the house of the presidency with the enlightened mind and the future, like where to take the country with Chiron. That alone is a huge deal. And then, in the house of the banking industry, we don't have Pluto in this chart, because this is how a president is taking the reins over the country. This isn't the foundation. It's what they're doing to preserve or move away from. And this is a preservation man. He's obviously, the word conservative means you're conserving something, you're preserving something. And so we have here Trump's Chiron is in the second house of things he likes, and money. And we've got confusion, illusion, delusion, odd taste, a different, this is people maybe they don't understand what's happening to the financial markets right now because of this. And we're also in Libra, the house of judgment. And, a lot of people are investing, and I think it's a very confusing and scary time to be investing because you've got the Neptune here, and in Trump's chart, you've got Neptune here with Chiron. You also have Jupiter. So you'd be, this isn't the house of risk taking, but this is the house of the financial world, and we don't know what's going to happen. So as a betting man, I would bet on tangible things, gold, silver, maybe platinum, different things that aren't like so much like blockchain technology, quantum. All these things may move there, but which stock, which one's dark and dirty, which one's manufactured for a bad cause to pay out all these people and do these nefarious things, and which one's set up for the people. That's kind of up in the air with Neptune down here. And this needs to be healed because the government's broke. So this is all coming to a head. And we've got this man up here working with tons of people behind the scenes, probably secret operatives, this 12th house, to change this around with this enlightening thing. But it's taking rebellion because it's having to go against the way it's been done for hundreds of years, hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years by the global powers that be. So this is a huge task, and it's a worldwide task, not just for America. So for a personal astrology reading, you can visit my website. You have to put https ... or for some reason I can't get it to come up. So it's www.astrologywithjeffreybryan.com. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up for a like, share with others, and please subscribe for future videos.